I got no words. I got no words. Yo, what's up everyone? My name is Jet. Welcome back to an episode of MDK Racing Victory Stop, recapping what took place in Daytona. Wow, I must say, this was the first super speedway race in a while that I left satisfied. It had everything. It had excitement, it had crashing, great racing, and a great finish. But I am still a bit annoyed. We'll get to that later. But overall, I thought it was a really, really good Daytona race. And I don't know, I feel like this was probably the best super speedway race in the next gen era. I mean, this race was really good from start to finish. No real dull spots in this one. I mean, stage one was extremely competitive. There was a stat line that had the most amount of lead changes in stage one, which was around 35 laps, the most amount of lead changes in 35 laps at Daytona in more than a decade. That's number one. Now, it was Ford heavy. I mean, a lot of the top Ford drivers like Josh Berry's, Joey Logano's, and drivers like that, always up towards the front, but still very aggressive racing happened throughout stage one. And it really set the tone early on that, okay, we are going to be in for a show tonight. I mean, hell, before stage two even began, Daniel Suarez caught on fire after a weird incident on pit road, which had Suarez's gas can spill some fuel. Hamlin drove up, into his pit box, and I guess him hitting the throttle, ignited the flames, and it got onto Suarez's car. It ignited the car up. Suarez had to get out of the car, and they retired from the race. Meanwhile, up front on the racetrack, Bubba Wallace, one of the Bubble drivers, was up front leading early on. And then we saw the first big one that took place on the back straightaway. And it involves, again, your boy, Corey LaJoie. Just, man, this guy, man. At this point, I feel bad for him. Just 2024, man. This just sucks. It just sucks. But, again, a bad push creates a stack up, creates carnage. Gregson involved, Larson, Ross Chastain, among Denny Hamlin, among many others involved in the back straightaway. Hamlin, one of the few drivers that was out of the race as a result of this accident. Around that same time, Chase Elliott, who was fighting with Tyler Reddick and Kyle Larson for the regular season title, he had to go into the garage and he was out of the race due to engine issues that occurred around the same race. So lots of carnage involving bubble drivers and drivers fighting for the regular season title. You then had this amazing save with around 18 laps to go when the 5 car of Kyle Larson hits the 2 of Austin Cindric, who somehow saved it. Don't know how he did, but he managed to keep his car going straight. And then on lap 82, 3 things happen at the same time. In the back, Martin Truex Jr., he blows a tire. Then up front, Eric Jones blows a tire. And right smack dab in the middle, Shane Van Gisbergen blows up. Goes up in smoke. Again, this race was just weird. It was weird, wacky, wild, mental from start to finish. And by the way, if you want to know, the Ford swept the stages. Josh Berry won stage 1, Joey Logano won stage 2. Stage 3, woo, that intensity was at 10 after stage 2. Crank that all the way up to 20 because it just went sky high. Literally. It was interesting to see these new drivers up front because stage 3 was Michael McDowell and Justin Haley. Those two were the 2 leaders. Haley made a very bold move on the back straightaway to jump down low to be able to take the lead away for a temporary portion of time. And then 21 laps to go is when we started to see these big crashes start to take place. But it began on the back straightaway with John Hunter Nemechek leading, but he gets bumped by Kyle Larson, sends him into the side of Justin Haley's car, and John Hunter Nemechek goes for a long slide. Doesn't go upside down. Can't say that for other drivers, but, keeps the car on the ground, brings out the caution. Restart with 18 laps to go, then we see the 2 and the 6 of Cindric and Keselowski up front. However, the 6 jumps the restart because the 2 car is the control leader. After pit stops, the 2 came out first on pit row. Keselowski jumped the restart, so Keselowski was penalized for that. And sometimes, things like that can be a good thing because at that same time, or maybe 1 lap later, we saw the second big one, and it happened really right before the start-finish line in the tri-oval, where Cindric and Larson made contact. McDowell then comes up in front of Cindric and entering into turn 1. Cindric just hitting McDowell many times, sending McDowell sideways. He gets T-boned by Logano, who sends him up in the air, comes back on all fours, but collects many cars in the process. Bubba Wallace, another bubble driver, Tyler Reddick, his teammate, Justin Haley, Kyle Larson, much more involved in this one. That will bring us to a 3-lap shootout. Cindric leading and Josh Berry is back up in front. And then we saw the other big one and another car go upside down, that being Josh Berry. More aggressive bumping on the back straightaway sends Josh Berry sideways, going upside down, reminiscent of his teammate Ryan Preece, but he does not flip due to there being no grass, but he makes heavy contact with the inside wall. Hitting the inside wall upside down does cause for major concern. But luckily, the safety crew were able to put the car back on all four, and Josh Berry was able to climb out of the car under his own power. So that was good news. That's three. That's three. Three in a span of 2 weeks of a car going four in a span of 2 weeks of a car going up in the air or upside down. We had Ryan Sieg and Corey LaJoie last week, and tonight we had Michael McDowell and Josh Berry. I mean, I don't know what is it with cars going upside down. And then, to be honest, in NASCAR, they did implement a new safety measure, to try and prevent cars from going upside down. But at this point, you just have to come to grips with the fact that when you're racing at these speeds, cars are going to flip. They will flip. They're racing at 180, 190 miles an hour. They're going to flip no matter what you do to it. It didn't help that when Berry was sideways, he had Austin Cindric next to him, which more likely did help Berry catch air. But when I say wacky, this race was wacky. So it is Kyle Busch that, through all of that, my pick to win is sitting in the catbird seat, coming to the white flag of the first overtime. Seemed as though that he was sitting in prime position to break that gap and go back to victory lane. However, on the back straightaway, you have Kyle Busch on the low lane getting help from Christopher Bell. But on the high lane, Harrison Burton gets a big push from Parker Retzlaff, I should say, pushing the 21 car to the lead. And then Harrison Burton, he did some really aggressive, close blocking coming off of turn number 4. Kyle Busch, he gets one more shot at the 21 car of Burton. He goes high, Burton blocks, Busch goes low, Burton blocks again, goes below the yellow line, comes back up to hold off Busch to win at Daytona in his 98th career start. His first win, like I said, in the NASCAR Cup Series. He led only one lap, that being the final lap. But he also gives the Wood Brothers their 100th Cup Series victory, of course, happening at Daytona with his father, Jeff Burton, on the call with NBC. I mean, it was an awesome moment. Now, there was a bit of controversy. Was Harrison Burton below the yellow line? It was deemed that he was pushed below the yellow line, which he was. When he made contact with Busch, that sent him below the yellow line. He came back up right away, so I didn't think there was any issue with that. But yes, Harrison Burton wins at Daytona. It was an awesome moment to see with Burton on the call, calling his son's first career Cup Series win. So it was an awesome moment to see. Take a look at the unofficial result. Let's take a look at the results here. So Harrison Burton wins, Kyle Busch in second, Christopher Bell third, Cody Ware fourth, and Ty Gibbs in top 5. Bubba Wallace, even though with his damage, still rebounds for 6th place. Parker Retzlaff in 7th. 8th is Brad Keselowski, even with his speeding penalty, he rebounds to finish 8th, sideways because he got turned right before the finish of the race. Daniel Hemrick and Chris Buescher, the top 10. Then Ricky Carson, Hocevar, Chastain in 12, Zane Smith, Chase Briscoe, John Nemechek, Alex Bowman, Eric Jones, Austin Cindric, BJ McLeod, and Joey Gase, the top 20. And then, everyone else were involved in crashes like Kyle Larson, Austin Dillon, Marchick Jr. in 24th, Josh Berry 26th, Byron was not able to complete the Daytona sweep in 27th, Reddick, the points leader, still the points leader in 28th, Michael McDowell, who had a very fast car, in 30th, as well as Joe Logano and Ryan Blaney in 29th and 31st respectively. Justin Haley, tough break for him in 32nd, and then Shane Van Gisbergen in 35th, Elliott 36th, Denny Hamlin 38th, and Daniel Suarez rounds out the 40-car lineup. So, with the surprise victory of Harrison Burton has absolutely flipped the playoff grid. This is what it looks like at the moment. I believe Tyler Reddick has about an 18-point gap ahead of Kyle Larson heading into the final race of the regular season. But look at the right side. Harrison Burton, he's now colored in green. Officially becomes the 13th entry into the NASCAR playoffs. Martin Truex Jr., Ty Gibbs, Chris Buescher, Bubba Wallace, and Ross Chastain, they're the only ones that can make it on points. And Truex, he no longer has that one race gap. He's within the 60-point range at plus 58. Gibbs plus 39. And Chris Buescher now has a 21-point gap ahead of Bubba Wallace. Ross Chastain now minus 27. Kyle Busch and Chase Briscoe, Todd Gilliland, those drivers on back. They have to win if they want to make it into the playoffs. It's actually kind of funny because Bubba, if Harrison Burton didn't win that race, if it was a repeat winner, Bubba would have been +6. And Bubba, I think, was the best out of the 17 and the 1 car in terms of being up front, and also good luck because the 17 and the 1 were also caught up in crashes. But it's just kind of funny how the playoffs work because, don't get me wrong. First off, we'll get to that later. I got to give a huge shout out to Lee Diffie. Don't get me wrong. I like Rick Allen, but wow. When you go back, the call that Lee Diffie gave on that final lap, not just the final lap, Lee Diffie was amazing to listen to from start to finish. NBC made I think a great call having Lee Diffie be the lead commentator. As much as I like Rick Allen, I do like Rick Allen, but Lee Diffie, he was meant to be calling races, and I'm glad he will be NBC's lead guy into the future because he called that race, especially that finish. He called it beautifully. Also, huge shout out to NBC, commercial free, or at least, not going to a full commercial break during green flag racing. I thought NBC did a great job how they covered the race, having Jimmy Johnson come on board and give, some commentary on the NBC Peacock pit box. I thought the whole TV crew did a great job, especially Lee Diffie. The race, like I said, was amazing. Awesome. The finish. I am so happy for Harrison Burton. I like Harrison Burton a lot. I wanted him to do well. I've always wanted him to do well, and I did feel bad for him that he got kicked out of the 21 ride, but again, it's a waste of a playoff spot. I'm sorry. That was Harrison Burton's 6th top 20 finish. Only 6 times this year, including his win, has he finished in the top 20, inside the top 20. Again, this is the problem with the playoffs. This is the problem with it. Why I or many others can't take it seriously. Yes, we know he's going to be out in the round of 16, but it is a waste of a playoff spot. Drivers like Truex, like Buescher, like Wallace, like Chastain are more worthy of that playoff spot than a Harrison Burton, than an Austin Cindric. I hate to be that guy, but yeah, it doesn't. Again, I'm happy for him, but it's like, oh, you're in the playoffs now. Okay. You see the issue with this, but that's for another story. But what do I rate this race? This is like 8.5, maybe 9 out of 10. I thought this was an awesome race. Wasn't perfect. That goes to Atlanta still. But it was an awesome race at Daytona. So I left this race very satisfied. From the racing to the commentary, I thought it was great. Very happy for Harrison Burton. But man, one race to go. Darlington, very interested to see how this goes. I mainly believe the main battle is going to be between Buescher, Wallace, and Chastain. With Truex and Gibbs, the speed that they have, if they can just keep their noses clean, they'll be fine. The main battle is going to be between the 7, the 23, and the 1 car because they are pretty even on speed. And, let's be honest, Buescher has a pretty decent gap. 21 points he's ahead of Bubba Wallace. And Buescher, we know how good of a car he had back in the spring race before he got taken out by Tyler Reddick. So those 3 drivers are going to be very fun to watch how they compete against each other into the final race at Darlington. But those are my thoughts on this race. What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comment section down below. Did you like it? Did you not? Until next time, my name is Jett from MDK. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see y'all next time.